So all we're doing is adding one step in your financial life. I'm not going to ask you to change anything that you're doing. Don't change how you're investing, right? I'm not going to ask you to work harder, change your cash flow, take any additional risk, or lose control of your money. We're just going to add one step into your financial life, and it'll drastically change and increase your financial wealth.
I am Christina Suter, and this is the Real Estate Breakthrough Show, where we talk about the reality of real estate, the mindset you need in order to face the reality of what it is, and tips and tricks to get you moving forward in investing. I am your host, Christina Suter. And today we have an awesome guest, because I wouldn't bring you a guest unless they were awesome. You know this, guys, right? Brent Kesler, the money multiplier. He is freaking fantastic. I saw him first at the Think Realty. I saw him first at the Think Realty conference, and he was presenting there, which was amazing. He's presented at many other conferences. He just told me you present at 65 conferences a year. Seriously?
Yeah, right, between 55 and 70, somewhere there. Last year, I think we did 68.
That's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about your bio, because I think your bio sets it up so well. It's like you were a chiropractor. You did chiropractic coaching for over 14 years in what seems like a previous life. It must feel like a previous life at this point. After implementing the money multiplier method, truly important, the money multiplier method, you were able to pay off $984,711. No sense on that, huh? $711 in third-party debt in 39 months. I mean, that story alone is an amazing documentary. What is it called? I don't know what it's called. Affirmation that this system works. You became so passionate about how powerful this concept was that you started to teach it, and you started the money multiplier. So, Brent, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Christina, for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited to share this powerful financial information with your audience. It truly has just changed my life from a perspective of money and finance. And now I get the privilege to wake up every day and teach other people about the concept that the majority of people have never heard about.
And you are clearly a teacher at heart. I mean, just talking to you, that's very, very clear. So tell us, you were a chiropractor before you got into the money multiplier, but somehow you got hugely into debt. So tell us a little bit about that story, because I think that's powerful for people to know that they can get into debt, but they can absolutely make a difference and make a choice to get themselves out.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And so yes, I am a chiropractor. I still am a chiropractor, but I don't practice chiropractic anymore. I haven't treated patients since probably 2009. I've had associate docs in my clinics. I own 5 clinics in the Kansas City area. I've sold them all. I sold my last one 2 years ago in 2017. Well, yeah, about 2.5 years ago now, as we sit here in January of 2020. But so anyway, here's what happened was that I had these offices. I had a good thing going with my clinics, and, things were going well. However, I had, just a lot of debt. And so anyway, I was at a chiropractic conference. It was back in 2006. I was at a conference, and I heard this information about how to become your own banker, the infinite banking concept. There's a guy out there named R. Nelson Nash. He wrote a book called Becoming Your Own Banker. And I heard this concept. I heard someone talking about it. And that was back in 2006. And I watched the information being presented to me. And I thought, man, that looks really, really good. That looks really cool, but it just looks too good to be true, right?
Yeah.
Like that, you watch something and you think it looks good, but that just doesn't, I don't know about it. It looks too good to be true. So I did nothing at all. I left that conference in 2006 and I went back home. I went back to my chiropractic life. I go back to another chiropractic conference about 1.5 years later. And about 10 or 12 of my colleagues that were at the previous conference were now at this new conference with me. And they were coming up to me and they were saying, Brent, isn't that banking concept the most awesome thing ever? They were talking about how they just had this debt and they were paying their debt down. They were building their wealth. They were keeping money in their family, all without working harder, changing their cash flow, taking any additional risk, or losing control, right? And I thought, myself, there had to be something to this. There's no way 10 or 12 of my colleagues are lying to me.
Right? They can't all be that silly either, right? To fall for a concept, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
come on.
yeah, so like possibly a couple of them are lying to me, but not 10 or 12.
Right.
So I thought to myself, there has to be something to this. So I went home after that conference, okay, in 2008, and I told my wife, I said, we have to start implementing this in our life, right? We got to start doing it because at the time we were $984,711 in debt.
Right.
Now, the thing is that you're probably thinking, well, how does a guy from Kansas to be almost $1 million in debt? I know you live in California that buys a very small house. Yes?
Right. Yeah. But Kansas?
But in Kansas, it buys a lot. Well, here's what I had. I had my student loans from chiropractic college. And then I also had the house that I lived in. I had my chiropractic clinics. We also had a house on the Lake of the Ozarks between St. Louis and Kansas City.
Okay.
And if you have a house on the lake, you got to have a boat and a wave runner, don't you? I mean, you can't have a house on the lake without a boat and a wave runner. I'm also an airplane pilot. So
I saw the private jet, but the little private plane behind you.
Right. So as an airplane pilot, I have to have my own airplane, right? So it didn't take me a lot to become almost $1 million in debt. Well,
right.
I put this concept into place and I was able to pay that debt off in 39 months, 3 years, 3 months. Never had to work harder, change my cash flow, take any additional risk or control my money. All I did was added one step in my financial life. And that's it. And so that's how I started myself. Now, as a chiropractor, I was also a chiropractic coach. I had my mentor, my chiropractic mentor is a guy named Dr. Eric Breitenmoser. He was out of Temecula, California. So anyway, he's from Switzerland. He's now back in Switzerland. He moved back to Switzerland. And so anyway, he's my chiropractic mentor. So he had a coaching program where he had people that he was coaching. He was coaching chiropractors on the sales and marketing aspect of the business. Well, so my clinics were pretty successful. And so anyway, he came to me one day and he says, Brent, he says, I have a lot of coaching members. I have too many coaching members and I can't handle them all. He says, in sense that you are using my chiropractic system, would you like to help me coach these members? So I started coaching a group of his members. Now, if I'm coaching chiropractors, I mean, yes, we're talking about the chiropractic business, the sales and marketing, and the aspects of trying to bring patients in the door and then having them stay, pay, and refer. Well, if I'm talking to them about that, I have to also talk to them about their money and their wealth and just what they're doing to keep their money. And because now at this time, I mean, I am into this banking concept and it's working good for me. I just start sharing it with other people, you know? So now I'm doing that. I'm sharing it with other people. And then I went over to the guy's office, just to where I started my program, my banking concept with one day, just to ask him some questions about my stuff. He walked downstairs and he says, Brent, I was looking at my records and I've seen you referred me a total of 41 people. I referred 41 people to this guy.
Wow.
And I looked at him and I kind of laughed and you've never paid me a dime for any of those people I referred you, right? He said, in all seriousness, he says, you're very good at this. He says, you're telling people about it. He says, you should consider doing this yourself. So I found out how to do it, what to do. And now the thing I do is just tell the story the same way I did it back then, but now I've just made this my mission. This is my purpose in life, really, is to share this powerful financial concept with as many people as possible. Now, that was back in 2012 when I first got licensed to do this concept that I do, the banking concept. And now we fast forward, it was back in March of 2012, so we're now in the end of January of 2020, and I have 2,300 of my own clients all around the country.
How many again?
2,300, give or take 50, 2,300 all around the country that I work with and I teach this concept to. And the majority of those, Christina, are word of mouth and referral. Because once you start implementing this system in your life and this concept, it drastically changes your financial life, and people want more and they want to tell others. So I'm very blessed to have referrals after referrals after referrals. So that's really now how we're building, you know, just the concept to get the message out to other people. And then I get the privilege of just going and speaking on a live stage, like I'm coming to speak on your live stage. What is it, Thursday, February 20th. In Pasadena.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, that's amazing. The story itself is amazing. I mean, you could say, how did a Kansas guy get into so much debt? But you also could say, how did a Kansas guy work out how to get himself out of debt without changing his lifestyle, without selling a bunch of assets, without losing control, right? Or having to work harder. And those are the primary points. So now that you've got us super, super interested, how does it work a little bit? Give us a little bit of a hint as to how this, I know you're going to talk about it on the 20th, but give my listeners here a hint about how this money multiplier concept works. So how does infinite banking work? And why does it work for real estate so well?
Oh yeah, it works great for real estate. I mean, I've had the privilege of like speaking all around the country at different real estate events. I've been on the Grant Cardone stage before, the Les Brown stage, and you know, I mean, it goes so well with real estate because people, you know, they buy properties and hold them, or they buy them and flip them, or they need money for new properties, right? And like if they're in the note business, so I do conferences and seminars with people that do notes, building wealth with notes, and just that. So again, this product, this concept called the infinite banking concept, okay, based on the book Becoming Your Own Banker. And again, my company is The Money Multiplier.
Right.
Go to themoneymultiplier.com.
Yep.
That is my deal, and I'm located down here in Florida, just outside of Daytona Beach, little town called Port Orange, Florida. And the concept, it's all around a product that's been around for over 200 years. And that product is whole life insurance in a mutual company that pays dividends. Now, a lot of listeners, okay, probably just tuned out when I said the word insurance.
I hope they don't tune out. Okay, listeners, let me bring you back, because I currently have a whole life insurance policy specifically that I use to invest my money into because it compounds. And then I can also pull money out of it. And I think that's where you're going. So listeners, stay awake. This whole life insurance concept is not boring, dull, stupid, inappropriate, or anything else. This is not a scam. This can actually happen. So I just want to bring them back to life, right? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, no, thank you so much for that. But yes, you're absolutely right. So this is a specifically engineered policy design for high cash value. All right. It's not a typical whole life insurance policy, but it is a whole life policy in a mutual company that pays dividends, that has immediate cash value. Now, when I say immediate cash value, within 30 days, any whole life policy that you've ever heard about in the past, you have zero cash value in the first year, probably zero in the second year, and not much more in the third. This has cash value immediately within the first 30 days. In other words, you're going to start using that money inside of your policy to pay your debts and your expenses that you're paying anyway. So all we're doing is adding one step in your financial life. I'm not going to ask you to change anything that you're doing. Don't change how you're investing, right? I'm not going to ask you to work harder, change your cash flow, take any additional risk, or lose control of your money. We're just going to add one step into your financial life, and it'll drastically change and increase your financial wealth. Now, the concept, as I said, it's a mutual company, right? So you are the owner of the policy. It's not a stock company. It's not the shareholders that have first rights. You have first right to your money. Now, this concept is not something I created. It's not something the author of the book, Becoming Your Own Banker, R. Nelson Nash, created. It's been around for over 200 years. It's how Walt Disney started Disneyland. All right, so go look it up. It's how Pampered Chef got started before Warren Buffett purchased Pampered Chef. It's how Ray Kroc was able to help fund McDonald's and
Right.
start the marketing campaign of the mascot, Ronald McDonald. JCPenney, Stanford University, also Foster Farms, all used this method to build and create wealth. If you go read a book, it's by Robert Kiyosaki. You guys have heard of Robert Kiyosaki.
Of course.
Right?
And we probably even know the book.
Right. So anyway, he's famous for the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but he also wrote a book called Second Chance.
Right.
Okay? In Second Chance, Robert Kiyosaki talks about turning liabilities into assets. And this is exactly what I teach, exactly what Robert Kiyosaki talks about in the book. There's another guy named Tony Robbins. He wrote a book called Master the Money Game. I believe that's what it's called. Master the Money Game by Tony Robbins. In chapter 5.2 or 5.4, I don't remember, 5.2 or 5.4 in that book, this is exactly what Tony Robbins talks about. Exactly. So all we're doing is we're mimicking and imitating what the wealthy do, because the concept's been around for over 200 years, right? Okay, so again, so the thing I always say, there's us and the super wealthy. Us and the super wealthy, right? We all have access to the same financial tools. The only difference between us and the super wealthy is they use the tools differently than we do. Now that I know how to play the game and how they're using the tools, I'm just mimicking and imitating exactly what they've been doing for over 200 years.
Yes, just the level of sophistication. It's just the willingness to be financially sophisticated. It's not that we're smarter, faster, better, even necessarily better, even better educated. Maybe it's we're better educated in using the tools because we've taken the time to understand things like infinite wealth using the money multiplier.
Yeah.
We've taken the time to educate ourselves financially. It's not because we're more financially brilliant in some way or gifted or something. It's available to everybody who wants to just learn it. Just choose it, and you can move yourself forward in this way.
Absolutely. And again, it works for anything that you're doing in life, no matter what product or what service it is. I now show you how to recapture and recycle all of those dollars that are going out to other people. So
okay, apply it to real estate. So how does this really work so beautifully in harmony with real estate?
Yeah. So like when you go out and you buy a property, right? The thing that you do is you buy that property, and the thing you have to do is take the money and you have to give it to whoever's selling the property. Let's just call it the seller, right? So the thing you do is you take your money, you buy the property, and the thing you have to do is give your money to the seller of the property. So he has the money, you have the property. Everybody leaves happy, the transaction is over, yes? But
yes.
How about if there's a way now that when you go and you buy that property, it's going to work the same. The thing you do is you give him the money, he gives you the property, but now we have a system and a method in order for you to get all of that money back for that property you just bought. So not only do you get the property, but now you have a system to get all of the money back, so you have the money and the property. How about if you go do a remodel on a project, maybe, right? Maybe you're putting in a basement, granite countertops, a swimming pool, whatever it is, a patio or a deck. Well, you have to get that money out. You have to lay that money out to get those services done. How about if there's a way you can pay for that, you can get those services done, but now there's a way you can get all the money back. So not only do you have all the services that you just bought, but you also now have a system to get all of that money back. So we're recycling and regenerating money the same way that the super wealthy do. And when you do that, the thing that we're doing, here's the cool thing about it is, whenever using that money in the policy, right? Whenever we use the cash value in the policy, we're not using our cash value. What we do, Christina, is we put our policy up for collateral. We take a loan from the general fund of the insurance company, and that money is continuing to grow as if it was all in there. So there's no interruption of compounding at all.
Right.
So
That's important. It's really important. The money you borrowed is earning you interest while you're borrowing it.
Absolutely. So you're making money on the money as you're using. So you're using your money and it's growing at the same time. And that is absolutely huge.
Huge. Huge. I didn't mean to interrupt you. If there's more you want to say in that area, please. I mean, I know this is what you teach, and so you know it, minutely. You know absolutely every detail of it.
Yeah, no, yep, absolutely. And again, it doesn't matter what product or service it is. So like if you allow me at the end of this, I'll give you the website and I'll give you how you can access my full 1.5-hour presentation on this concept.
Yes.
And in that concept, in that presentation, so I use a car as an example of how you can get all the money back on all the cars you're going to buy.
Let's do it.
And the reason I do a car is because everybody has a car, right? Not everybody is in real estate. So, but if I can get all the money back for every car I'm going to buy driving home for the rest of my life, so not only do I have the car, but the money back, we can also do it for a house, a boat, a vacation, whatever it is that you want. We are now, again, going by the principles that Robert Kiyosaki taught, that he teaches in that book called Second Chance, where we're recapturing and recycling the money. And there's no interruption of compounded growth whatsoever. I will tell you, Christina, that this concept works so well that 91% of my clients that have been with me for a year or longer come back and they want to do more. They want to put more money into these policies, into these high cash value policies, because their wealth is growing substantially. Now, the reason I tell you that is because if this concept was not working, there's no way 9 out of 10 are coming back for more.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it's like that you started the story with, 10 or 12 of my chiropractic friends couldn't be that silly. And 9 out of 10 can't keep coming back and saying, hey, you know what? We're ready to double down now that we understand how to use it. We understand how to leverage it. It's helping us pay down in our life. I actually have you don't know this, but I have a client of mine that's actually a client of yours.
Oh, okay.
And he's been talking very positively about it as well. I can't let you know because it's confidential, but I just want to let you know, like I'm hearing good feedback on this side. He's not busy going, hey, this is BS. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about, blah, blah. He's like, oh, this is going to work for me and my kid, my wife and my kid. And we're really excited and da-da-da-da. And so I know that it's working. I have validation independently from you, right, that it is working.
Well, here's what's really cool about that statement that you just made is I love what I do every day because nobody's ever mad at me. I don't ever have clients to get mad at me. Like back when I'm a chiropractor and I go into the office and here comes patient Mary. And Mary says, Doc, I've been coming here 3 weeks and my back still hurts, right?
Right.
Well, Mary, it takes time. It didn't come on overnight. It's not going to go away overnight, right? But with this concept and this method, nobody gets mad at you when you're helping them create and build wealth. And all along, you are in 100% control of your money. I am never, ever in control of your money whatsoever. You are 100% in control of your money. I personally have 19 policies. I buy at least one policy every year, and I put just under $500,000 a year into my own premium. And I buy at least one policy every year.
Wow.
So the stuff that I'm showing you and teaching you to do
works.
Is what I do in my own life.
Well, and you can double down. So it doesn't sound like that there's this sort of, I'm not saying it's infinite for infinite banking, but there is a capacity to grow it and double it and triple it if it's working and you understand how to manage it and you're using the system, that it really can continue to lead to short-term wealth coming straight into your life, as well as long-term wealth, because if these are whole life policies, then there is obviously a death benefit.
Yes, there is. And so you're leaving a legacy for your family.
Yeah.
But see, when most people, Christina, think about life insurance, they're thinking, okay, well, I need to have enough life insurance on myself because if something happens to me, I got to make sure my family is protected. Yes?
Right.
That is absolutely true. And so people should think that. However, how about if we could use our living benefits today while we're living? How about if we can use the benefits of this life insurance while we're living today and then still have a ton of money to pass on to our children, grandchildren, and future generations to come? So that's what we're really doing. That is the big difference. We are going to use our good dollars today and pay them back with weaker dollars in the future. So we're using this today while we're living, and we're building wealth for our family, and we are going to create a huge legacy for our family. So I'm excited for your viewers to go out and watch the presentation. Can I give that information right now? Or not yet? Okay.
No, it's iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, and several other platforms. The audio is going to be released on, but it's also going to go on Amazon TV on my own channel. So we're creating a Christina Suter Amazon TV channel, and every one of these interviews are going to be on that channel. But the channel will go live, I think, in March or April. So we're loading up our interviews now to load up the channel.
Okay.
And what information do you have?
Well, so I was just going to give them my website, and they can go watch the full recorded presentation so you can really get around the campfire and see how this really works, right?
Right.
So if you go to the website, which is themoneymultiplier.com, so it's going to be www.themoneymultiplier.com. So, all right, so like TheMoneyMultiplier.com, themoneymultiplier.com. And if you scroll to the bottom of the homepage where it says members area, to the bottom where it says members area, the thing you do is you click on that and enter the password, all lowercase, no spaces, bank with Brent. Bank with Brent, B-R-E-N-T. And then you can watch the full hour-and-a-half presentation, or it's also broken down into 10 individual sections if you prefer to watch it that way. Okay,
so this is your website.
Yeah.
Here's the newsletter.
Okay,
here's your testimonials.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. All the way to the bottom, and you see where it says members area right there? Yep.
Where does it say members area?
Let's see. Scroll down a little more, down to the bottom of the page.
Oh, there it is. Member services.
No, not member services. Go to members area.
There it is. Member area. See now I would have missed it if I was listening to you, but now we can see it's right there. Bottom of the website says member area. You click it.
Click on that.
Yep.
Enter the password bank with Brent, all lowercase.
All lowercase. Okay. Bank with Brent.
No spaces. Yep. All lowercase, no spaces.
Okay.
And then that should pop up.
There it is.
And there you go. So if you notice, you can watch that presentation, which is a little over an hour and a half long, or if you scroll down a little further, it's broken down into 10 individual sections.
Yep, I see it. Yep.
And then also, Christina, there's a downloadable handout too that they can download and print off and follow along.
Awesome. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, I knew that your website, a lot of people build their websites these days to be a rich, resource for people, but this is fantastic.
Yes.
There it is. Download presentation on the right.
Yep. So
there
the presentation is just a little over an hour and a half long. And I'm telling you, I know people on the call are probably thinking an hour and a half. I don't have an hour and a half, but I will tell you this. This will totally change your financial life. So it is okay if you skip an episode of The Bachelor, or if you skip Bobby's soccer practice or Susie's piano lessons. This will change your financial life. Believe me, your children will not be mad at you for doing this. So just take this time, watch the information, and then after they watch it, I have all my contact info all around the website. I'll be happy to go through and answer any questions that they have.
That is amazing. Thank you, Brent. Now, I'm not done with you yet. That was just the first part of our show, as we talked about.
All right.
So now here's the thing, is that this show is about breaking through to financial freedom. So let me ask you I'm going to ask you two personal questions. We'll start with the first one. What was your hardest moment in your financial life up to date? How did you solve it? And how did it help you grow as a human being, as a provider, as a man who's on purpose in his life, as somebody who helps other people in this world? What was your hardest moment?
Well, I can tell you as a kid, as a young child, my dad was a traveling salesman. I never finished high school. I got pulled out of high school in the 10th grade because my dad was a traveling salesman. So when I wanted to go to chiropractic school and I went to the counselor and I said, I want to go to chiropractic school, they laughed at me. They said, you can't go to chiropractic school. First of all, the thing that you need is a high school education. I said, well, how do I do that? So they told me I had to take a GED.
Right.
And then I took these undergrad courses to get started and stuff. And I ended up going through chiropractic school. It wasn't easy because I didn't have that foundation. It took me 13 trimesters to pass 10 trimesters of chiropractic college because I failed classes. After I did walk the stage and I graduated from school, it took me an extra 2 years to open up because I had to take this thing called, so the national board exams. I kept failing part 3. I failed part 3 of national boards 3 times, and they only give you the test once every 6 months. Never got my chiropractic license until 2 years after I got out of chiropractic school. And so like growing up, there were times where we didn't have a lot of money as a family. I mean, we just didn't have a lot of money. I remember just as a child, 8, 9, 10 years old, of having to choose between paying rent in an apartment or my dad had a vacuum cleaner store. So do we pay the rent on the vacuum cleaner store or the apartment because we couldn't do both? So we sat in the back of the vacuum cleaner store. We took our showers at the YMCA. All right. And I remember sometimes all we had to eat were hush puppies, which hush puppies they give you for free usually, and that's all we had. So, however, I do remember a positive side about that. I had a good friend that I went to school with, and his name was Gus. I called him Gus the Greek. And so his family, because Gus was Greek and his family owned a Greek restaurant down the strip mall from where our vacuum cleaner store was. So Gus fed me a lot, right? His family. Yeah. So, but anyway, growing up, so I never wanted to get back into that position again because I remember there's a lot of pain financially. So after getting through chiropractic school and building and having all of this debt, I was like, man, how am I ever going to get off this financial hamster wheel? Right. Because again, there's only so many hours in the day. I'm trading time for money, and I got interest building. I'm paying all this stuff, student loans. I had more loans than most people because I failed classes and I had to retake classes. I had to take national boards again, so that upped all my loans and everything, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get off this financial hamster wheel. And so when this concept came about and I said, okay, this is working for some of my colleagues. So there's got to be someone upstairs sending me a message that's saying there's opportunity is knocking on your door, right?
Wake up and listen. We're helping you get to your financial goals and your sense of purpose.
So that's what I did. And that totally changed my life. And I was just very disciplined. And I knew that, this was working for all these people. Because remember, I was the guy that didn't believe it at first, thought it was too good to be true. And then I saw that it was working for my colleagues. And I knew I just had to follow what they were doing. I just had to see what they were doing. They were building wealth, paying down debt, recapturing, recycling money. And it's totally changed my financial life. I mean, it happens so fast too, right? You would think that it would take such a long time. Right. I mean, it happens quick because once you start doing this and you just start recapturing dollars for maybe your first real estate deal, your first remodel, and now you do the second one and the third one, and that money just continues to recycle and regenerate. So for me, it was the pain early on of not having the money. And I was always fearful. About, okay, what happens if everything gets taken away from me? What am I going to do? So I kept that thought in my just head all the time. So this day, my wife says, I'm not going to worry at all because you will do enough worrying for both of us.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I grew up in my sister's hand-me-down pants, and I thought my story was tough. My mom had to work full time. My mom was an entrepreneur, and so she worked getting us, the shelter over our head and the food on the table. And so sometimes I was at school 2 or 3 hours after school when my mom couldn't pick me up on time because she was stuck in a meeting. And I used to think, oh my God, how's my mom so horrible that she's picking me up so late? Well, she was making sure we had food on the table, right? My mom needed to get money into the house to make sure I stayed alive. I can hang out at a safe place like school for 2 hours and let my teachers entertain me quietly while they're picking up the room until she can get to me. That was a safer choice.
Yeah.
Not finishing the meeting and bringing the money home. And it took me a while to figure that out, right?
Yes,
to forgive my mom and to go, yep, she was actually making the important choice of keeping me sound and keeping all three of us kids sound. So was there a moment, a place and time, a specific time where you realized that you shifted that helped you break through to this deep commitment? And that might be pretty young for you. That moment where you went, this is it, I'm going to always, and you really made the decision to your core.
Yeah, well, I always knew that, I had to work and hustle hard, because I wanted to make sure that I had just like things or to be able, to survive. So, I mean, even as a young kid, I was working 2 jobs. I was a bag boy at Winn-Dixie grocery store. I was mowing lawns. I was washing cars, so I never wanted to get into into where I could not provide for either myself or, the people, that was around me. And just to be honest, going to chiropractic school, I went to chiropractic school kind of late in life. I started in 97 is when I started, and I was born in 67. So I was 30 at the time. My wife, I said, look, if I go to chiropractic school, starting at like age 30, by the time I get done with everything, because I had to take the undergrad classes, I'm going to be 35 or 36 years old, And I remember saying to me, she says, well, how old are you going to be if you don't go?
If you don't. I like her. Keep her around.
So that's what she said. And she supported me, she supported, me. I was lucky to marry someone that was successful. My wife's, by trade, she's a nuclear engineer, she's got her master's degree in nuclear engineering. She worked out there in Lawrence Livermore lab up in San Francisco area. She helped design the nuclear reactors on the submarines. So I definitely married up for sure.
Right.
But
you married a brainiac and somebody who's, pretty good. I mean, that's.
So it was her that helped me to push me along to say, hey, I'm here to support you. I'm going to support you and we're going to, get this done and we're going to do, the stuff that you want.
Let me ask you one final round of questions. So it sounds like you've hit the point in your life where you could say that you feel financially free. Does that seem accurate?
Yes. Like I know as far as when I get the onion all peeled back, that's the way it looks. But still in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, of course, just not as often, not every day, but I still every now and then I think, okay, what happens if all of this goes away or what happens if it stops? So I try to set myself up, and I have, because of this concept in these whole life policies, which is going to continue to build in wealth, even if everything goes away. If the income stops because of the foundation that I've built over the last, I bought my first policy in February of 2008. So I'm only 12 years old in this as a customer.
You're a teenager. You're a tween. You're still just leaving the tweens in this.
Yeah. But because of the foundation that I've built, I know, I know that I'm going to be okay.
Right.
And I'm also pretty disciplined, meaning that is so that I don't spend more than I make. Like a lot of people I meet in life, they're very good at making money. They're very good, but they suck at keeping it.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So that's what I teach people how to do is let's keep the wealth that you're building. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you to do the Dave Ramsey stuff and live below your means and all of that. You know, I want you to live the lifestyle that you're used to living, and you can live the lifestyle you're used to living, but we just need to take some of the money and redirect, not really redirect it, but add one extra step along the way. And if you do that, it'll significantly change your financial life. So I can't sit here and tell you that I never wake up and think, okay, what happens if everything goes away? But I know deep down when I peel back the onion that everything is good. And my wife feels the same way because I just had a conversation with her a couple months ago, and she said to me, she says, remember the very first house that we were in? And I think we paid for our very first house, we paid like $200,000 for our first house 25 years ago, or $180,000 back in 90, so back in 96 or whatever. And my wife was worried about us, you know, in that house, and are we going to be able to make it? Will the house be taken away from us, you know? So just a couple months ago, you know, my wife's saying, I never worry about that anymore. She says, I never, ever worry about that. I know that because of what we've have and what we've done in the foundation that we've built, that we're going to be good. And now my wife is very active in the business that I'm in and doing what I do. She kind of runs the back office of everything that we do. And she sees the changes that we've made in our life financially, and how many other people, you know, hundreds and hundreds, 2,300 of people that we've helped to break those bonds of financial slavery. They don't even realize they're in, and now they're taking control of their own wealth.
That's actually at the bottom of your emails. Still freeing families from financial failure. Right there.
Yes,
every signature, it has that right there on there. And I love that because it speaks of the power of the system, but it also speaks of you being on purpose.
Yes.
You know what your purpose is. You've summed it up. I'm freeing families from financial failure just as I freed myself, that boy that I was, from being afraid of financial failure. And I suspect because of the work and the discipline and the diligence that you've done over the last 12 years, because we just confirmed you're a tween, right?
Yeah,
so we just confirmed you're a tween, that there might be more, like the difference it's made for you might be more peace of mind, sleeping better, more time with family. I don't know what for you is the biggest one or two things that it's made for you now that you kind of crossed that point where you go, oh my God, I'm scared. I don't think I'm going to make it to, you know what? We're going to make it. Even, you know, maybe we got more to do, but we're going to make it. So what difference has that made for you? One or two things.
Yeah. Well, so let me say this, as a chiropractor, chiropractor doctor. So as far as health, right? Okay. So the number one cause of death.
Bring it on. That's right.
Number one cause of death is heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
Well, number one cause of heart disease? Heart disease is stress.
Stress.
What is the number one cause of stress? Money. Right?
Right.
So if you fix the money and finance problems in families, you alleviate the stress, and now you may not get heart disease. That's the way I like to think about it. So not only are we helping people with their money and their wealth, but I think we're helping them with their health as well, because now we're eliminating that stressor of like, how do I survive? How do I make money? You know, and all the financial worries that people have, right? So also, Christina, my children, you know, all right. Okay. So my daughter, she's almost 21 years old, and my daughter is my assistant, and she works with me. She's also a licensed producer in a lot of the states around the country. So she sees how it's working in her own life. She has her own policies. And my son is 18 years old, right? So the thing we were able to do with this concept is we were able to go out and buy my daughter her own house. We went and bought my son that's 18 his own house. Right? And we did it through our family banking system. So we're keeping all of that money in the family. There's no leakage of money. And they see how this is. And, you know, I guess 2 or 3 weeks ago, my son said to me, He says, Dad, you bought that motorcycle, you bought that trailer, you got that other airplane. He says, how do we have the money for all of this stuff? How can we do all of this stuff? Because again, he's 18 still, and he still is like still learning how this works. To where my daughter, she pretty much has it, but he's still learning. And he says, how are we able to do these things that other people aren't able to do? You know, and I sit and I go through with, even though he's heard me talk on this topic like 1,000+ times, he doesn't quite get how it all comes together, you know? So I say, well, Zach, it's because we have this policy. When we put money into this policy, we take that money and we use it for the things that we're going to buy in life anyway, right? Or our expenses, our debts that we have in anyway. But now when we run it through this vehicle, you are not interrupting any of that compounded growth in the money, and you've got a system to get all of that money back. So now we're turning every liability into an asset, every depreciating asset into an appreciating asset. And most importantly, we're not giving up control of our money. We're keeping total control of our money, and we're using it today, just like the wealthy do. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Barclays, right? This is how they use the money. And so here's what Warren Buffett said. And I'll kind of leave you with this. Here's what Warren Buffett said. I don't know when Warren Buffett said this, but I heard it in October of 2008. And I think about this statement almost every day of my life. And it's very simple. I'm not a complicated person. Not the brightest candle on the cake, the sharpest tool in the shed. Remember, it took me 13 trimesters to pass 10 trimesters of chiropractic school. I took part 3 of national boards 3 times. So I'm definitely not the brightest candle on the cake. Here's what Warren Buffett said, and I heard it in October 2008. He says, if poor people would just start doing what rich people do, they wouldn't be poor anymore.
Done.
How much
Okay,
sense
Brent,
does that make?
give us your information. So we know it's themoneymultiplier.com.
Yeah.
We know that there is the members area where they can get access to the video. Give us the login again, the password.
Yeah, the password is Bank with Brent. So anyway, go to the website, scroll to the bottom where it says members area, type in the password Bank with Brent, all lowercase, no spaces. And then I'll also give my cell phone number out if you want me to.
Yes. Give your cell phone number out.
Okay. So my cell phone is 785-248-9637.
Do it again.
785-248-9637. And I'm a big texter, and my email is Brent, Brent at themoneymultiplier.com.
All right, Brent, I'll see you on February 20th at the Pasadena meeting. I so look forward to this. I think I'm going to make my husband come. If not, he's at least has to watch the video. All right, Brent, you take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Estate Breakthrough Show.